everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting. Today we're doing a video in support of Bear Island Comics. I actually have the slabs behind me here because he's a 96 guy and I wanted to show my support for him. Just for life. But anyway, the reason I'm doing this video is he has a contest going on where he's asking for your Royal Guard. And he got this from Game of Thrones, if you're not a Game of Thrones fan. The king has a King's Guard that consists of 7 knights. And he asked you to come up with your King's Guard, your 7 knights that can come from any fandom you wanted or reality or however you wanted to do it. Who would be the 7 members of your King's Guard? And so I put a lot of thought into this, probably too much. I'm known to do that kind of thing. And debated long and hard about how I wanted to go about it. So my unique take was I decided that I was going to limit myself to 1 guard from a bunch of different fandoms. So my 7 fandoms that I picked is I got to have somebody from DC Comics, someone from Game of Thrones itself, someone from Harry Potter, someone from manga or anime, so a Japanese kind of character, someone from Marvel, Star Wars, and then number 7 would be a wild card. In addition to the different fandoms, I wanted to have several roles I wanted to make sure I filled amongst my King's Guard, and obviously certain members could fill more than 1 role. I wanted a leader. Obviously, you got to have a Lord Commander. I wanted somebody who was a true leader. I wanted an investigator, someone who could investigate any kind of issues or crimes or anything that was going on that might be affecting my kingdom. I needed a tech person. I needed someone who could be an effective spy, potentially an assassin if needed. I wanted a telepath. I wanted a mage or somebody who understood the magic arts. And I wanted a fighter, and by that I mean somebody who just loved to fight, a real brawler that could take a beating and keep on going. So those were kind of the different roles that I wanted. So without further ado, let's start working through my potential King's Guard. First up, I went to DC Comics. And my initial choice for DC Comics was an easy one for me. This character was going to be my Lord Commander. It was going to be easy, and I was going to go with Wonder Woman. She's a demigod, super powerful, very smart, has the lasso of truth, get to force your enemies to tell you what you needed them to know. Seemed like an easy choice, but my small council suggested, that needed probably a political marriage, and what better political marriage than to a princess of a island of warriors. So she got bumped up to my queen instead of on my King's Guard because, for politics only, strictly politics. So still had a DC spot open. So I decided to go with Batman. And basically I went with Batman sort of because it's a cheat code. He fills my roles as my investigator. And he's also kind of my tech guy. But in addition, he has his own loyal knights that I could use to basically commit to run errands, or, not necessarily run errands, but complete missions without having to give up a member of my King's Guard. These are people who would be loyal to me and to him that I could use to get things accomplished. Amongst those is Barbara Gordon, who's also a tech person, is Oracle, that could also be handling a lot of the tech stuff along with him. So it seemed like a no-brainer. In addition, he has another friend who could help me acquire certain objects that might be hard to get my hands on otherwise, has certain set of skills that she could come in handy, and I could get all of this without having to use up any of my additional spots on my King's Guard. So that is why Batman is my choice from DC. Next up, I talked about having a spy, an assassin. I needed somebody who could slip in and out of places without being noticed. Could really just be no one. And for my Game of Thrones person, I am going with Arya Stark. one of the faceless men. She is going to be my spy, assassin, loyal knight that would, that I could send into places. She could go undercover. People wouldn't know it was her. And if I needed to if there was somebody on my list, they would be on her list, and she would take care of them. So that is why Arya Stark is the second member of my Kingsguard, and she is my Game of Thrones person. Next up was someone from Harry Potter. And I thought about a lot of different people from Harry Potter and realized I was overthinking it. I wanted the most powerful mage that I could possibly get. So I went with Prime Dumbledore, which would be basically in between these two photos, which are from the two movie series. I'm talking Dumbledore not too long after he defeated Grindelwald, well before he kind of got old and long in the tooth. The guy that Voldemort feared and would not go stand against. That was my choice for number 3 in Harry Potter, my Harry Potter member. The next group, the fourth group that I wanted to get a character from was kind of manga and anime. I'm a big fan of some of those series. I really enjoy that kind of stuff. I considered lots of choices for this. I mean, you could go with Saitama from One Punch Man, who's basically unstoppable, it appears. But he's always kind of bored. He doesn't really seem to want to fight. And I wanted this to be my fighter. I wanted this to be somebody who loved to fight, who wanted to get in there, would mix it up. I considered Vegeta. But he's kind of a jerk. So ultimately, Son Goku, the man, every time he fights, he gets stronger. He loves to fight. He's kind of dumb, but that's not the role I want him to play on this crew. I want him to be my powerhouse. I want him to bring the Kamehameha wave and defeat anyone that stands in his way. And that is why Goku is a member of my Kingsguard. Next, we go into Marvel. And for this, I mentioned I wanted a telepath earlier. Marvel is the place to get those. There's a bunch of telepaths. I debated on Professor X. He's kind of the most powerful telepath. But ultimately, I was like, get out of here. Because I want my Kingsguard to be able to do more than just, if somebody blocks his mental abilities, I need a Kingsguard that can defend themselves in other ways. I considered the White Queen. She, would be willing to do some things that were a little more underhanded, if I needed her to. Ultimately, though, I decided I had a different role for her, which we'll talk about toward the end. So, decided not to go with her, and I went with Jean Grey with full control of the Phoenix. She is on my Kingsguard. Who's going to mess with that? Another powerhouse, another telepath. Definitely going with Jean Grey. So that is the 5th member of my Kingsguard. Next, I needed to go to the Star Wars universe. I debated on just going with the most powerful Jedi or Sith available. I debated on Darth Vader. Ultimately, though, he betrayed his emperor, so he's out of there. Next, I considered, definitely didn't go with the emperor because he would want to be in control. He's gone. I considered Yoda, and I could have done kind of the cheat code that I did with Dumbledore of going like Prime Yoda. Ultimately, I thought Yoda would be better as an advisor, and my choice was for the member of my Kingsguard, and actually my Lord Commander of my Kingsguard, is Mace Windu, because if you don't have a Sam Jackson character in your crew, what are you doing? He's the man. He's going to be the leader of my Kingsguard. So that is my choice from the Star Wars universe. And last but not least, I had a wildcard spot. And I debated several different ways. I thought strongly about going with a Kryptonian. I considered Superman. I decided, nope, he's too boring. I don't want to deal with him. I don't want to have the Boy Scout on my crew. My crew's got to be willing to get their hands dirty if they need to. Thought about going with Power Girl. Supergirl's young, and hey, who wouldn't want to look at Power Girl as part of their Kingsguard? Decided against it. Ultimately decided not to go with a Kryptonian. I debated on having maybe, because I felt like I had a powerhouse in Goku, and the Phoenix didn't necessarily need just a pure power play. I considered going with Thor. He brings the thunder. He kind of controls the weather. But when I went down that thought process, Why settle for somebody who just controls thunder? Why not have somebody who controls all the weather? Went with Storm, but ultimately I decided to upgrade Storm because she has carried an Asgardian hammer in the comics. Let's give her that hammer. Let's get her at her peak power. And Storm is the 7th member of my King's Guard. So let's go back through them so that everybody can kind of see where I came up with. My queen is Wonder Woman. She kind of got upgraded due to a political marriage. Lord Commander, Mace Windu. Batman is kind of my lead investigator. Plus, he has all his agents that can help me accomplish missions. If somebody gets on my list and needs to be taken care of, I have Arya Stark to do that. As a true powerhouse fighter, somebody who just loves to get in there and brawl if I need them to. Son Goku. Jean Grey is going to fill the role as my telepath and another powerhouse with the full Phoenix at her back. Dumbledore in his prime. Who's going to mess with him as a magic user? And finally, Storm with the hammer. Bringing the thunder, the wind, all of it. She is the 7th member of my King's Guard. Now, before you go, I got a little bonus. If you want to stay, you can go if you want. But since I was going down this list, I decided I was also going to come up with my small council that would play a role in my kingdom in addition to my King's Guard, since I was thinking along this lines. So, my small council is going to consist of my hand, the Lord Commander. Obviously the King's Guard has a role. The Queen would have a role on my small council. I'd have a Master of Coin. I'd have a Commander of the Navy, a Commander of the Army, and a drinking buddy advisor as well. Because got to have somebody to hang out with on my small council. Obviously, the first role is, the Queen is obviously on. Wonder Woman is obviously already decided. She's on my small council. Next up, the Hand of the King. I'm going with Gandalf the White. It allows me to get a Lord of the Rings character in there. Plus, he would just be a very wise advisor and gives me another magician if I ever need one. On call, he would be the Hand of the King. Lord Commander is Mace. My Master of Coin. Remember I said I had another role for the White Queen. Emma Frost is going to be my Master of Coin. She's also going to be kind of my spider. We know that Emma has her hands in a lot of the things that go on in kind of the underworld. She's willing to get her hands dirty. She does some underhanded things. She's willing to use her telepathic abilities to get information. She's going to be my Master of Coin and spider on my council to get me that information and dirt I need. My Master of the Navy would be somebody that would never leave my Navy into a trap, because he would know Admiral Akbar. He's the master of my Navy. And then the Master of my Army this was just my excuse to get my Kryptonian in. Because, if they're leading my armies, who cares if you have strategy, if you have a Kryptonian leading your armies. And once again, didn't go with Superman. I went with Power Girl, because who needs the Boy Scout? I'd rather look at Power Girl leading my troops into battle. And finally, drinking buddy, I went with Tyrion Lannister. He drinks and he knows things. That's the kind of guy I want to hang out with. Decided not to give him the Hand of the King because that hasn't went so well for him. But when he's drinking, he's fun to be around. That is my small council. So I had a lot of fun with this. Bear Island, I hope you enjoy it as well. Everybody should definitely go check out his channel. He does a lot of great stuff. And I want to just say thanks for watching.